What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as this market's going, I just want to mention that there's a little bit of weakness right here. We have to see how well SPY holds above 568. If we can't do that, we're going to be at risk of dipping towards this gap fill around 564. That could take us down another 3 or so points. And we'll be watching to see if we hold this support or not. If we don't hold support, this could be resembling a flag. You guys can quite see it right over here. And typically when you lose the support, we'd be looking for another leg down. So that is possible if we end up losing support right over here. But I want to talk more about this in just a minute. Let's first talk about some news. President Trump came out and he mentioned that he's looking to impose 25% tariffs on the auto industry for parts that are basically coming outside of the US. He wants to increase tariffs on them. Once again, trying to incentivize manufacturers to produce in the US. Now, the problem is we don't really have alternatives yet. It's going to take a while to get them. So it's going to have a big effect on the auto industry. It's going to cause a big disruption, and that's causing a little bit of panic right now, at least for a lot of companies. President Trump also announced that he wants to increase tariffs on pharmaceuticals and lumber. And then he also went on about how he wants to keep the auto tariffs permanent during his presidency. So, there's a lot of things that are being said. Obviously, his mind could change. Things could change depending on negotiations and things like that. But as of right now, he has this view that he wants to increase these tariffs soon. And he is also hyping up April 2nd, claiming that, he's going to make some huge announcements then. As of right now, the market's been dipping a bit amidst this news, amidst what he's been saying. And I'll keep you guys updated on if he says anything else. So I'll give you guys more views on his transcripts and such. Just for now, today's Thursday, March 27th. We just had our GDP numbers. Everything's pretty much close to expectations. The GDP growth is like decent. Initial jobs claims is decent. The GDP price data is decent. Corporate profits are still decent. So overall, I would say this data is it's just very close to expectations, nothing too crazy. We do have some more Fed manufacturing numbers at 11 o'clock a.m., but it's not that important. So we'll see how that ends up going. Besides that, this is what earnings look like. Nothing too crazy for the rest of the day. We do have Lululemon later on and a lot more of these retail. But that's pretty much it. Now the market's a little bit more apprehensive because of what's happening so far with these tariffs. I also want to add that President Trump announced the 25% tariffs on autos outside of the US. And besides that, I'm not seeing anything else too crazy in the news yet. So that's still the primary focus, excuse me. So, anyways, what do I think is going to happen from this point on the charts? So, looking at SPY, we have a very, very clear pattern. We're respecting a channel. This is maybe a part of a flag, so we'll see if that ends up being the case or not. And this would typically suggest that there could be another dip coming, taking us down to this gap fill. So we have a nice confluence for that. And then you have to see if we bounce off this or not. If we don't bounce, we're going to be at risk of dumping back down for another leg down to break these lows. So it all depends on how well we end up holding up and what President Trump announces. And that's why it's going to be very important to pay attention to him and how the market responds. So for now, SPY needs to get back above 568 to 570. If we could hold above that, that's how you try to bounce. If we don't hold above 568, I do think we're going to be at risk of dipping to about 564, and that is what my prediction is. So I think we might be coming down to fill this gap at 564, and we'll see if we bounce or not from there. Keep that in mind, guys. It's going to be very, very key for us. If not, we could be dipping lower, so watch for that very closely. If we don't hold above 568, I do expect us to dip for 564, and we'll see if we bounce. If not, we're looking for another leg down, so just keep that in mind. Just focus on this support right here, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get for now. But look for that gap to fill around 564 on SPY. On the QQQ, similar setup. This looks like a flag as well. I think this is going to be at risk of dipping for that gap fill around 580. So look for a small dip on, 480. Look for a small dip on the QQQ. If we hold 480, we could try to bounce off this flag. If not, we're looking for another leg down for 474 or below. There's also a gap to fill down here at 470, so that's going to be a little bit risky. So we'll see if this is another leg down that's about to start, or if it's going to be, different. We'll see. But for now, just focus on this 480 area, which I think we're going to test. As long as we don't get back above 486, we're favoring 480 on the QQQ, and we'll see what the reaction happens to be. For the IWM, we're also looking for a test of 206. We got to hold above that. Otherwise, we could be dipping towards the gap fill at 204, then eventually back down towards 202. This is kind of weak looking. We're barely at this resistance. We're not doing a good job of trying to break past 206 yet. So we're favoring a move back down to 204 to 202. ES also has not hit the yellow trend line yet, so there's a chance that it does see another dip move to completely fill that gap. Even if we get a little bit below that, it's going to be okay. We'll see if we can still bounce off that or not. If we don't bounce, we could be looking for a much bigger decline back down towards these lows, so you want to be very careful. So this is going to be our first target if we do end up failing to hold that support. And the second target is going to be way down here, so just keep that in mind. In my opinion, I think that there's a chance that we consolidate and start to dip a little bit to fill this gap all the way down to the low 5700s. For NQ, we're trying to hold this support right here. I do want to give everyone a warning that if we don't hold above 20,100, we're going to be at risk of dipping towards this gap fill around this 19,970 area. So we'll see if we bounce or not. But overall, we're still looking kind of weak, so please be careful. 19,970 could be coming. Bitcoin's kind of weak here. We're looking for lower highs that are being made. This could be dipping towards 86,000. We'll see what the reaction is. I do see a risk of us dipping. For Nvidia, this is also a little bit not. This is kind of bad looking for the QQQ because we have a double top here. Still have a gap to fill around the 109 area. It needs to reclaim 115 to bounce. Otherwise, it's going to be at risk of dipping to like 109, and then eventually these lows can be retested towards 105 if that fails us. Tesla's a little bit stronger. It's trying to bounce amidst some news that they're launching Saudi Arabia, and also because they're getting good ratings from analysts. But keep in mind, although Tesla's parts, a lot of them can be produced in the U.S. They still depend on China, so tariffs will affect them to some extent, maybe a lesser extent compared to their competitors. So that's a good piece of news for them. So if it does try to bounce, if it does try a little rebound move, the question is, will we break this high? Will we make a lower high? If it makes a lower high here, I could be eyeing a potential inverse cup and handle that could lead us down to fill this gap around this 249 area. So you want to be very careful if that ends up being the case. For now, look for a small push towards 275, maybe even as high as 280. And if we make a lower high, we could be rejecting. So it could be making a lower high rejection. We'll see how that ends up going just for confirmation. So watch and see what the reaction is. If Apple loses 220, we're looking for a dip towards that gap fill at 218. Not looking too good as well. For coin, we're looking kind of weak. We need to see if 192 holds. Otherwise, we could be dumping for 190 or below. So it's not looking too good. Amazon's looking kind of weak here. We'll have to see if it could hold 200. If it holds, it could try a rebound for 202. If not, it could be dipping for 195. Meta could be dipping to fill the gap around 196 if we don't hold 600. 596, excuse me, guys. And then Microsoft could be dipping towards 389 if we don't hold above 390. So please keep that in mind. Finally, as far as this market's going, there's obviously a lot of weakness, but we'll be watching our key levels just to be safe. Last but not least, we have Google. Google is dipping. We need to get back above 168. Otherwise, we're favoring a move back down towards 165 or below. And the VIX is starting to break out here. So the VIX is showing a lot of strength right now. I think that's looking pretty good. So we'll see if this continues or not. So please keep that in mind. Anyways, guys, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. So please have an absolutely awesome rest of your day. One thing I always hear from my very, very strong friends who are traders, my very, very successful mentors, is a saying that goes, hunt and do not chase. And what that means is don't be chasing after every single dip. Don't chase bad entries. You want to be picky with your trades, look for good entries, and hunt for opportunities. You want to be picky in order to build that discipline that's necessary for success. So keep that in mind. Don't just be jumping in all over the place because that could actually hurt your disciplinary practices and end up affecting your trades. Anyways, I wish you all the best. So be patient, be disciplined, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.